If you're listening to this video, you probably have agoraphobia. And I want to say quickly, just right up front, if you have agoraphobia, you will never feel 100% until you beat the agoraphobia. And that may seem obvious to some, but to many, indeed most, it's not. I mean, agoraphobia is almost looked at as this thing that, the worst thing it brings in our life is that we won't be able to maybe drive very far, drive at all in some cases, or we won't be able to go grocery shopping. We're not good in social situations. We might even play it down and call it social anxiety. But real agoraphobia, it's really a spectrum, and it starts with social anxiety. It starts with trepidation and driving and grocery shopping. And again, as a spectrum, it can go from, a very mild case of those things to you not being able to leave your house, to you not being able to leave your bedroom, to you not being able to leave your bed, to where the bed feels like a dangerous place. And that's what's happening there. Indeed, the limbic system is registering everything in your environment as a potential threat, as a potential danger, right? It's almost like you're floating in the ocean at night and there's sharks swimming around you. You're terrified to move. You don't even want to kick your feet. You just move enough to stay afloat. You're paralyzed with fear. And that's essentially what agoraphobia is. It's us laying on a battlefield, in another analogy, in a little hole that we've dug out for ourselves. And there's bombs going off all over. There's landmines, there's snipers, there's soldiers shooting. Things are exploding around us. And we're just laying there covering our ears, closing our eyes, clenching them closed tightly, bracing for impact any second. Just terrified, cannot move. That's agoraphobia. And the bigger problem with agoraphobia, again, isn't just that you'll have trouble going to the grocery store, right? Because I've heard people say that. And they'll say, I got agoraphobia, but I mean, I can't go grocery shopping when I drive. Oh, my wife drives. Oh, we get food delivered. What's the big deal? Fair enough. But let me tell you again, the big deal is you will never feel 100%. You will never completely be where you want to be mental health-wise until you beat the agoraphobia. Because how could you? How could you when agoraphobia creates this problem with the limbic system, this stress response, which will then inevitably manifest in other ways? You'll have sleep problems. You'll be depressed. You'll get deconditioned, right? You'll get unhealthy metabolically. Everything suffers. It's a ripple effect. But you won't feel completely safe. You won't see real improvement in your anxiety levels, your depression levels, your trauma, your sleep, your rumination, your health anxiety, your health, until you really take on that agoraphobia and beat it. And believe me, you can beat it. It has the highest rates of success in beating agoraphobia. The highest rates. Now, you may not be able to cure your anxiety and cure your depression fully. You may be able to beat that stuff down to it's just this, little rain cloud that comes every now and then, and hell, no problem. Happy life. Happy living. But you're never going to feel 100% as long as you have agoraphobia. So you want realistic expectations there. As long as you have agoraphobia, you're still in the fight. Right? You're still in the battle. So treat that agoraphobia. That's this whole video, this whole talk is about, is trying to inspire you to look at agoraphobia differently and to realize you're paying a higher psychic mental health price than you might realize. And it's sad because so much better quality of life is waiting for you. And it could be waiting for you as soon as 8 weeks. Just 8 weeks of agoraphobia work and you start to sleep better. Your anxiety levels start to come down. That limbic system starts to feel safe again. And not only does all this anxiety and all of these things go down and begin to dissipate, but the good stuff can now emerge because the bad stuff always buries the good stuff. Remember that. How can you feel, there's a hierarchy of needs that we have. And until you feel safe, till that hierarchy of needs is met, things like self-actualization, feeling loved and inspired, and all that stuff you're really after, it's not even on the table, guys. Right? You can't even access it. You say, I want to be happy. I want to have dreams. I want to be inspired. I want to feel again. I want to feel, it won't happen as long as this agoraphobia is still hanging around, and we can beat it. And it's actually pretty easy to beat as far as, what do we do? Doing it is, on the other hand, is tough. Finding the right pacing to do it, the right exercises to do it, the right mindset to do it, building up the skill sets around it that will enable you to get through it, that's a little bit tougher. But it's very doable. And I can tell you guys, I've had people come to me. I mean, agoraphobia is like my specialty at this point, at least one of them. And I've helped people get their life back that were 5, 6, 10 years out, of a benzo, or for you, some of you might be listening to this that never took a benzodiazepine, anti-anxiety meds, and this isn't your experience at all. Doesn't matter, because agoraphobia is what it is. It affects everybody. It doesn't discriminate whether you're on antidepressant, psych meds, or not, right? And it's a trap, because it's true. We can tranquilize that limbic system. We can get you some benzodiazepine, get you some Xanax or Klonopin or Ativan, and get you then out there again. But I'll tell you, if you don't get out of the house, that ride is a very short ride. And the agoraphobia can override those meds, because that's what it's designed to do. Agoraphobia is the limbic system's response to a perceived catastrophic danger all around us, right? And the limbic system, it's pretty strong. It can override sleep. It can override meds. It can override a hell of a lot when its whole purpose is to get you up, running from a tiger, a lion, a bear, some dangerous situation, and trying to get you to survive. It's the strongest instinct other than procreating. It's the strongest instinct in our nervous system. It's the oldest, strongest, first developed instinct is survival, fear, fight, flight, right? And it has a cascade of chemicals, again, that suppress the good stuff, that doesn't even allow us to get to the good stuff until we address the agoraphobia itself and learn to feel safe again. So again, hear me, guys. If you have agoraphobia, the bigger problem isn't that you can't go grocery shopping. Yeah, so what? Bring groceries to me. Well, I can't drive my car. Well, whatever. I don't like driving anyways. I mean, we can come up with a lot of reasons and play it down. And certainly I would agree. Those things, all right, you don't care. Maybe you live in New York. Driving isn't a big deal to you. Maybe you can get food brought to your house, whatever. Maybe you're disabled. Maybe it's not a big deal. But the bigger problem is you will never feel as good as you can in terms of your mental health as long as it's there. It has to be removed, guys. It has to. It's a cancer. It's plaguing you. It doesn't have to exist. And with like some graded exposure, with some use of mindfulness practices, by building up some skill sets, by some cleverly using some classical conditioning to reverse engineer this problem, which was a classically conditioned problem, by the way. I mean, unless you're actually laying on a battlefield in the middle of a war, unless you're literally floating out in the ocean surrounded by sharks, unless you're literally out in the woods surrounded by grizzlies, this is a different experience for you. This is a limbic system that's come to believe it's in danger, that really has been a process. It may be started by meds. Maybe it's been started by other problems. I mean, you could just be, you can have back surgery and just be in your house for a few months healing and not being very social. And then you go to leave one day and you go, oh my God, wow, I stepped outside my house. I went to drive to the store. I almost didn't make it. And then that sets in motion all the behavioral changes that's going to happen. So then you start driving less, you start leaving less, you start isolating more, you start getting more anxious, more depressed, more deconditioned. And then that's a slippery slope, because then you're only moments away from a doctor giving you a med, which again, yes, can help get you back out there to a point, but the agoraphobia can always override it. The limbic system can override it. And if you take the med and you just sit in the house and you don't work on the agoraphobia, well, now you're really in trouble. Now you're just trying to use heavy tranquilizers to lull down this nervous system, to paralyze its instinctual fight or flight response. And that's not good, because it's going to take a lot of benzos, a lot of anti-anxiety meds, and it's bound to fail at some point. And then what? Then you're going to come off the meds. You're going to feel 100 times worse. Your limbic system is going to feel completely, you thought you were feeling like you were floating with sharks before. Now you're going to feel like the sharks are eating you. I mean, the limbic system is going to go haywire at that point. So I'm not saying if it isn't wise at times to use a little benzo to help, maybe even for a couple of weeks, a low dose of something to kind of help you with, in conjunction with therapy. Okay, that's on the table. Personally, I'm not a big fan of going the med route for something of that nature. But maybe you're so bad off that you just need something that helps you turn that corner a little bit, get you out there going, get you some momentum. Fair enough. But then get off the meds quick. And don't drag it out. If you're on the meds for 2 weeks, don't spend 2 months tapering. Get off them. Right? But you really don't need the meds. If you got agoraphobia, and if you're hearing this, you're tapering off of benzodiazepines, you could still work on the agoraphobia. Well, you might say, Dave, isn't that a little bit of an uphill battle? Sure. But it has to start somewhere. You know what I mean? It has to start somewhere, guys. Start now. And maybe you do feel like it's an uphill battle as you're coming off this thing for a while. But you will still be trending in the right direction, at least. You will already be training your brain that everything around you isn't danger, right? You can do that now. I promise you, you can do that now. And when you get off of benzodiazepines, if this applies to you, you can do it even, and that's really where the work even becomes more important. And if you're someone who's not on a benzo, who never took a benzo, and you're listening to this, even better. Start working on that agoraphobia. Start small. And if you need help, there's a lot of therapy out there. There's great videos. And I offer coaching for agoraphobia work. Like I said, it's one of my specialties. I had it about as bad as you can get it. I mean, I was that person that was completely agoraphobic on their bed and couldn't leave. So I know what it means to gradually fight back and push cleverly, and to use classical conditioning to our advantage. Like I said, to reprogram, rewire that limbic system, right? Because this is a learned condition. This is something that's been learned, agoraphobia. And I often tell people, I talk about the bridge and the crocodile. Two examples that I love when I'm explaining how powerful the limbic system is. The bridge, you might be saying, what do you mean by the bridge, Dave? Well, people have phobias about bridges. People have phobias about elevators, all kinds of things. But let's look at the bridge. Say you're driving over a bridge and you get a phone call that something bad happened to someone you love, or somebody you love's in the hospital. Oh my God, you panic. You have a panic attack on the bridge. You pull over, you're hyperventilating. Oh my God. You turn around, you race back off the bridge, back toward the hospital or wherever. Now fast forward a week, a month, year later even, you're going back over that bridge. You're out of that crisis that had nothing to do with the bridge. But the limbic system remembers. It says, hey, didn't something really bad happen here? And it doesn't quite know what that bad thing is, right? Because if you think about it, the way we evolved, we didn't evolve with telephones. Never in our history were we able to find out something. Telephones almost made us psychic. Never were we able to know something was going bad somewhere that wasn't around us, that's something that was actually happening, right? We didn't know that. So now we have this cue, and the limbic system says something bad happened here. So as we're driving over the bridge the second time, we start to feel that trauma response, that fear, that anxiety. And sometimes it can, depending on how bad it was initially, it could come on like a ton of bricks, or it could be a mild anxiety. In a ton of bricks, you might have a second panic attack right away. And you turn around, you race off the bridge, you say, what the hell? I can't drive over bridges. Or chances are it might come on more small, where you just say, man, I just always have a fear of bridges. I hate driving over bridges. I try to avoid them. Every time I go over a bridge, I'm clenching, I'm closing my eyes, I'm grabbing the side of the door, the handle. And the limbic system's hearing this and saying, what is wrong? What's going on, man? What are you scared of? Is there something wrong with this bridge? Is there danger? So if you have a panic attack the first time, I tell you, you're 50% likely to have a second one. And if you have a second one, you're 85% likely to have a third one. And if you have a third one, a third panic attack, now the hooks are in. Now the limbic system is pretty sure there's something wrong with this bridge. And so you can spend the rest of your life having intense fear where you can't drive over a bridge. This fear can become so paralyzing that you can't even watch movies about bridges. You have nightmares about driving over bridges. The thought of a bridge scares you, right? The limbic system has learned a false association with danger, and now it is trying to make you survive by pumping you full of fight or flight chemicals and hormones designed to make you feel like some kind of impending doom is approaching. But not only that, making you feel or preparing your nervous system, your body, to run and evade from that danger or to fight back. So it's not just mental, it's a whole host of physiological stuff happening. Now, here we have an example where falsely association made, this terrible phobia. Now let's look at something that's genetically evolutionary instilled in us, like being afraid of certain dangerous animals. Now that made a lot of sense. Human beings have been eaten by animals since the dawn of time. They would come into since we lived in caves, a bear would come in and eat us. Since we went down by the water to get water, a crocodile would grab us. Right? We evolve, and part of evolution is a survival insurance that's there. And so we started to evolve to not be so stupid about what are sharp teeth or sharp claws, and it's in our nervous system, a slight reaction, an instinct that, hey, crocodiles are dangerous, right? That's why you don't really have to be taught that crocodiles are dangerous. No one had to get eaten in front of you to say, oh, that's bad. You just look at that thing like a snake and you go, that doesn't look like something I want to touch. A bear, you go, wow, that's terrifying. A shark, that's terrifying. Babies know not to crawl off cliffs. We know not to stab ourselves. We know fire's hot. We know falling is bad. We even know that certain colors in nature is dangerous. Like, there's a lot of kind of evolutionary insurance in our, in terms of instinct and fear in our limbic system. And crocodile is one of them. But if you were raised, maybe say from a kid, your parent got you, your dad got you a crocodile egg, you hatched it, you waited months to hatch it, you cared for it, you nourished it, nurtured it, it hatched this little baby. It's kind of cute. All little babies are cute. Even little crocodiles, when they're, 2 inches long, you're like, oh, a little cutie. But you raise them, you feed them. Before you know it, it's sleeping in your bed. Before you know it, you're able to, go swimming with this thing. You could literally be one of these people that you see on like TikTok that are swimming with a crocodile, up to their head in water, murky water, and come right up nose to nose with this crocodile and kiss him on the snout. Play with him, right? And if you hooked them up to a blood pressure cuff, a heart monitor, you would see they have resting heart rates. Their blood pressure is unaffected. Their cortisol levels aren't raising. Their adrenaline isn't jumping. Their fight or flight instincts are not activated. They have desensitized their nervous system. They have taught the limbic system that at least this crocodile I'm pretty safe around. Not only am I pretty safe, I love this thing. I'm in love with this creature. Which is a really great point in itself, the implications of love reprogramming fear. And we'll get into that in a whole nother video. That's enormous. That's really the core of my philosophy of my life is, us working to move from an instinct, a program of fear to love. Love is a great eraser of this program of fear. But I digress. Agoraphobia is learned associations. And you can learn to fear the bridge, or you can learn to swim with crocodiles without any anxiety. That's how powerful the amount of change in the limbic system can be. Right? So if you're asking yourself, is there hope for agoraphobia? Yeah, absolutely. But again, hear my words, guys. You will not feel 100% if you don't beat the agoraphobia.